This episode of our podcast is brought to you by Duliban Insurance. If you live in Ontario, Canada, and are looking for the best price and coverage for your Tesla, give Duliban a call at 1-855-385-4226 or visit their website at dulibaninsurance.com/Tesla. All right. Well, it's the first podcast of the year. Welcome, everybody. Happy New Year 2020. I don't know what episode this is. Not that it matters or anything like that. But, hey, we got some really awesome guests. We have my usuals, Eric Camacho and Ian Pavelko, and also our good friend, Raj, from the Tesla Raj YouTube channel. How you doing, Raj?
Good, guys. How are you?
Awesome.
Hello.
Well, we were going to do the podcast on our usual night, which is Thursday nights, but I was waiting for the Tesla numbers to come out, and sure enough, we got them very early this morning. So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. So we're going to talk about Tesla's production numbers because they broke amazing records, and then we're going to move on to, I think what we're going to do is talk about do some 2020 predictions as far as what we think Tesla's going to be doing this year, because there are some differences. There's not any new cars, but there's some new stuff coming. And then, as usual, we'll get into viewer and listener questions. So I want to say thank you to everybody who has submitted the questions. We have a fair amount of them to get into. Now, if you're new to the channel and new to the podcast, welcome. If you ever want to submit questions, we usually do it through my Twitter account. The handle's at Model 3 Owners, or just look for Tesla Owners online. And we put out a Google form that you can fill in usually the day of or sometimes the day before of the podcast, where you can submit your questions. And we try our best on the show to answer those. So, having said that, let's get in here. Yes, Tesla production numbers. Holy mackerel. Well, I'm going to read a little bit from the Q4 2019 vehicle production and deliveries note that Tesla released. I'm going to put a link, as usual, down in the podcast and the video description so you guys can check it out for yourself. Now, this is not financial related or anything like that, because the financials will be coming out a little bit later. I suspect, based on these numbers, I think the financials are going to be really good for Q4. Anyways, so Tesla has stated, let me see here, total production. In the fourth quarter, we achieved a record production of almost 105,000 vehicles and record deliveries of approximately 112,000 cars. In 2019, we delivered approximately 367,500 cars, which is 50% more than the previous year and in line with our full guidance. Now, in the letter here, they do a little bit of a breakdown. So they produced 17,933 Model S and X combined. They don't break them down. Deliveries of 19,450, so a little bit there in transit. Model 3 produced 86,958 cars, delivered 92,550. So grand totals, as usual, total deliveries, that's what really matters at the end of the day, because those are the ones that they can realize for profits, 112,000 cars. Now, they also go on to say here that we continue to focus on expanding production in both the U.S. and our newly launched facility in Shanghai, that's Gigafactory 3. Despite breaking ground at Gigafactory less than 12 months ago, actually the anniversary is, groundbreaking is in just a few days. So that's January 7th, if I remember correctly. So they've already produced just under 1,000 customer saleable cars and have begun deliveries. We also demonstrated production run rate capability of greater than 3,000 units per week, excluding local battery pack production, which began in late December. That sentence caught my eye, because I always assumed, probably did for like the longest time, that the batteries were being shipped from Fremont, or from the Gigafactory 1 in Reno, Nevada, Sparks to be exact, to China, but it looks like they're producing battery packs now. Now, not cells. That's a big difference. So, anyways, that's kind of interesting. Now, just to put this in perspective, I pulled up the numbers for 2018, because they did say it's 50% growth. So, the same quarter of last year, Tesla produced 25,161 S and X combined, and they delivered 27,550. So you can obviously see here that the numbers are definitely down on S and X. Now, again, we've talked this at length on the podcast. We're not too sure whether that's just people waiting for an update or it's just Model 3 cannibalization. Who knows? Anyways, Model 3, they produced just under 62,000 cars. They delivered 63,150. So total is 245,240 cars. So, do the math, 50% growth. Amazing numbers. I think, and we'll get into this a little bit later in the show, but we have some other cars coming. Model Y is the big car coming out this year, 2020. A few other cars coming in the next calendar year in 2021. No mention of semi-truck again. What's with that? I mean, I thought that was coming this year, but anyways. All right, guys, what are your thoughts? I mean, Raj, since you're the guest of honor, what do you think?
I mean, I think the numbers were awesome. I think it was kind of expected. We saw the big push. I was there. I saw Fremont Factory and how crazy that was, and just the sheer number of people that were picking up. So it was definitely a hard push towards the end. I think Trevor, you and I were talking about, even just looking at, referrals that were made too. Like there was not a whole lot of deliveries, it seems like, from what I could see, as far as like when I looked at referrals that were getting delivered. And so it almost kind of seems like Tesla, kind of paused and just produce as much as they could, held it, and then just went boom and just distributed it out everywhere. So definitely not surprised there with the numbers and the push towards the end and actually exceeding goal. So yeah, it's just awesome stuff from coming from them.
I'm glad you said that, because it also want to segue into your experience, because you helped out in the fourth quarter deliveries at the Fremont facility. And of course, we saw some of the tweets, that Elon eventually showed up. And was it John that was tweeting from his account there, the Silicon Valley Owners Club there, where you were doing the orientations for people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we had just kind of there were shifts divided out, and so some of us. There was an area in the lobby where a bunch of people were waiting. There was also an area in the back where Tesla employees were just lined up as volunteers, where they were just delivering cars, and they weren't doing orientations. And so that was just something that was decided that they just didn't have time for, to do the orientations with the amount of the volume of people that were there. So there was another line outside, and so one of us went around back and would just walk with Tesla employees as they were walking a customer to their car, and just kind of took it over from there and just asked them, do you have any questions? And then, I was kind of on the front where people are waiting in the lobby, and, some of them were waiting a couple hours. So it was just like, make an announcement. Hey guys, if anyone's interested, we're doing Model 3 orientations. If you bought a Model 3 and you want to understand more about the car, inside, outside, come with us. I was actually doing it inside the showroom, and
that.
I think they were like, well, this is looking a little crowded, and I was like, well, bring some cars in, or let us bring our cars up front.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought out 3 Model 3s. They parked it right outside on the parking lot, and we would just come out there. There was 3 of us, so we kind of split up when it came to talking about the interior of the car, but everything else on the exterior, and just I kind of just looked at it as like, if I was a new buyer, what would I want to know, right?
Yeah,
and
that's
so
the right way. Yeah, I think that's
some
right.
some of the basics, and there's just so much, and so we're looking at how can we make it even better, but just talking about, where's your tow hitch, if your charging port ever gets stuck, how do you remove it, right? That little pulley thing inside the trunk.
No talk of ice or snow, right?
Yeah. Right. And just like, hey, there's no spare tire, so using roadside assistance, things like that. And so it used up time. They got to know their vehicle, and they were super appreciative of it. So I thought it was good.
I'm curious to find out how many people from let's just say the lobby situation, how many people actually followed you to join in on that, like percentage wise, or like, do you feel like most people are already familiar with the car, or?
No, I would say out of the people that were in the lobby, we probably oriented at least 50%.
Wow.
Because what would happen is they would come out and they would come back in, and when I came back in for another, there were some people that didn't come out. Like, the groups got smaller as I did the orientations, because some of the people had already gotten the orientation. They were still in the lobby.
Yeah.
So that happened, but there were still fairly large numbers of people that would come out, and and they would stay for a little bit, or sometimes they would get their. The main thing is, what if my text message comes through while I'm in orientation? I was like, you can go back in, go get your car for sure, and then if you have any other questions, come back and ask us.
Oh, awesome. So the vibe was pretty good, all things, or do you think like some people were frustrated because of the waits?
There were, of course, a couple people that were frustrated because of the wait, and I think it was, it was just trying to, figure out ways. Tesla was handing out like food and snacks, things like that, and they were trying to be great. They were also doing tours, so factory tours, which you have to sign up,
Mhm.
months in advance. You could get a factory tour right then and there,
Oh, nice.
which was
Nice. I didn't see that.
yeah, it was like they were signing them up. They sent them right over. So I think that day they had just blocked off tours just for people
that's a
who
great
were picking
idea.
up their cars. So like an hour there, a half hour orientation. So there were a lot of ways to pass the time, but I could see how it could get frustrating for some people.
Yeah.
Is it true that a lot of the delay had to do with DMV? Because that's part of
Yeah.
the story I saw. Yeah.
Yeah, when I first got there was the first thing in the morning, and it almost seemed like nobody was moving, and I was like, "What is going on?" And so typically, I think last year we didn't have this. I think it was just something new for this year. We started doing the temporary plates. Prior to that, you just got you got no plate. It was like a vanity plate, and you just had to wait for your plates to come in the mail. And people sometimes abuse that, and even when they get their plates, they still don't put it in. But now you get a temporary plate, and so I guess that involves DMV, and so DMV is like on site, and so I think there was a big holdup on that, is what I heard.
We had the same
Yeah.
situation in Toronto last year, and I think I mentioned to this when we had a conversation, Raj, the other day. When they were dropping some 3,000 to 4,000 vehicles in the span of a month. This was, June of last year. Tesla had warned our local DMV, so to speak, that this is what we're doing. And I don't think they were prepared because obviously we had, aside from paperwork problems, which were pretty prevalent at the time, that they didn't have enough plates. And you can talk to most people up here, they experience that. I mean, things have smoothed out since then. I also talked to a local friend of mine who just picked up his Model 3 just a few days ago. And he was told, and of course I can't verify this 100% because I have not been participating in the deliveries locally, but it looks like in the Toronto area, at least they were waiting on cars. They hadn't really received any kind of significant shipments for about two months. So I don't know if that was just a shift of most vehicles, as things typically happen at the beginning of a quarter. Everything goes to China and Europe first, and then North American production shifts over. Although I do think that of course, now with Gigafactory 3 really coming online, that at least 50% of that particular problem should hopefully go away.
Yeah.
So.
It was crazy to see that parking lot just filled with cars. I mean, I came out there and I'm looking cars beyond, your eyes can see. And
Now,
it's just
I'm
like,
curious, because I've been to the factory before. Where are they putting these cars?
so it was where all the other cars, like, so, if you're facing the factory towards the right-hand side of the factory,
That's an
where all
employee
those
parking
cars
lot.
are. Yeah. And so, where it comes in front of the factory, they had a side entrance there. It was basically like a garage, and they had opened
The
up
two
all
garage
three
doors.
doors. Yeah, and those were open, and that's where paperwork was being done with customers. So there was a line over there on that side,
I saw that.
and then customers were, kind of course, inside, and that's actually the line that Elon came through and was, kind of talking to some customers and just
Were you
asking
there at the
them.
time when he showed up? The look on his
no.
face says no.
No, 5 minutes, literally
Oh,
5
that's
minutes.
brutal.
And I had a feeling, and it was just one of those where, I had been there since I dropped off the kid at 9 at the in-laws, and I was there till almost 5, and I'm like, this is almost an entire day. I gotta pick her up and I gotta head home.
Yeah.
So I had just left, and literally when I got to the in-laws, when I got a message saying Elon just got here, and I was like,
Was Arash there?
yeah, he was. So he had a couple shots of Elon.
Saw that.
He kind of was going through the line and shaking hands and talking a few things to people. And then he did kind of say to people like, I got to go take care of some paperwork and stuff like that, because he was trying to figure out what was taking so long for some customers, who had been there the longest, and trying to figure out how do we resolve those first.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they did get it resolved, because there's nothing worse than waiting around for 4+ hours for a car, right, Ian?
Yeah. It's pretty nerve-wracking.
By the way, can we have a moment of silence for the U.S. federal tax credit for Tesla?
Yes.
Yes.
Because that's now done. But I will say this, though, and I know this is like kind of a moratorium on this thing, is despite the numbers dwindling down every two quarters, the number of sales kept going up.
Yeah.
So that if that's an indicator that it's not a tax-driven, it's not an incentive-driven sales program, it's the vehicle itself. It's what Tesla's providing. It's what they're selling that makes it worth an investment. So I'm be interested to see what Q1's numbers are now that this will be the first official quarter with the incentive at 0.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to make that much of an impact. I mean, it might make some impact, but I don't think it's going to be really measurable in the sense that, at $1,875, once it goes away, it's just going to become the new norm. It's like, okay, well, I don't get a federal tax credit, and you just kind of move on with your life. Same thing with us. I mean, when I buy my Model 3, there's no, I mean, we have a federal incentive, but my car doesn't qualify for it. So it's just like, okay, it is what it is, right?
And there are still state incentives. Like I know where Raj is in California, there's still a state incentive for electric vehicles. But yeah, now we didn't really promote it much in the last show at the end of December. And I'm like, all right, well, there goes the tax incentive. See you later.
Yeah.
Now, here's a good question. Is every other time the tax credit has expired, Tesla has adjusted their numbers? Do you think that they'll adjust their numbers again, maybe $1,000 off or something just to, it's always been like a little like, hey, here's a little to compensate.
That's true. That's true. They have done that in the past.
I hope they don't, because every time they change prices, people lose their gourd.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand. Online, it's very much a bone of contention with a lot of people every time they change the prices. We get it. For a while there, it was almost like on a weekly basis, which is just ridiculous. I wouldn't put it past them for doing something. I mean, they just reduced the prices of the cars $500 because of the paint, right? They did do a paint adjustment price. So I wouldn't put it past them to do something. But again,
I don't think it's a big deal this time, though. I mean, when you went from the full tax credit from the $7,500 down to what was it, $3,750. I mean, that's a pretty big chunk of change. You had to incentivize people. When they went to $1,800, I think there was a slight adjustment. Maybe that's around the time where the paint things and all that stuff they tweaked a little bit. But now going from $1,800 to 0, I mean, that's kind of like almost a rounding error in the price of the car. I don't think it's going to have any effect at all, and I don't think they're going to touch the pricing.
By the way, we should mention, Teslas want to change prices occasionally, and don't be surprised if FSD keeps going up in price. I mean, we just had a price increase, so brace yourselves if you're teetering on the edge of like, well, do I get FSD or not? If it's of importance to you, our recommendation is always to buy it right then and there with the car, because you can bundle in with your loan. Because trust me, trying to come up with that, whatever it is, after the fact of that can be pretty painful. Pull it out of your money. So roll it into your car loan if you can, if that's of interest to you. It's funny because I was just driving my car there the other day, and I was just thinking about that situation, with autopilot, and the fact that if you want the FSD thing, that's all great. But you know what? Just traffic aware cruise control and auto steer, which is available, which is basically in all the cars now.
Yep.
Man, what a game changer that is. That is so nice to have. The other stuff is gravy. It's nice to have and stuff. But anyways, I just think that was, I mean, as painful as that change was back in early March, that was the right move, I think, in all honesty, to include that. Anyways, we talked about that on the podcast last time. Any last thoughts before we move on to the second part of this?
Did we get into predictions?
No, that's what we're going to talk about now.
Okay, I'm just checking.
Okay. So
I'm here. I'm in the moment. I'm just making sure.
You
mentioned. Okay, all right.
So I thought it would be kind of interesting, because we haven't done this on the podcast before, is to think about what is Tesla going to pull out of their hat this year. Now, they're not a company that's going to sit still for very long, because they're always changing things. But in case you don't know this, Elon did take to Twitter and basically announced that there are not going to be any more car announcements for any time soon. Because, we just had the Model Y this year. I keep saying this year. It's 2020. Sorry. 2019, we had the Model Y in March, and then we had the Cybertruck in November. So they are not planning on announcing any other cars. Now, it's not to say that they won't have delivery events like they had for the Model 3. They could have a delivery event for the Model Y. Semi-truck, probably not, even though that may or may not come into production later this year, because that's not really consumer-grade product and stuff. So I want to take a little time here and just kind of talk a bit about what predictions we expect, given the fact that we're not going to see any cars, but there are going to be some technology announcements. And the first one I think we should talk about is the Battery Investor Day. Now, last year they had the Autonomy Investor Day. That was held the weekend of Easter weekend. That was back in April of this year. And I thought it was very interesting. If you missed that, check Tesla's YouTube channel. It's fascinating to watch. I mean, yes, it started about an hour and a half late, but still fascinating in any shape, way, or form. I think this year, based on what he did say, I think they said earlier this year, like sometime in the spring. I'm going to put it at April again. That's just kind of my prediction. I think the timing is about right. I should also mention too that when they announced the the Autonomy Investor Day, when they talked about the Hardware 3 computer, it was already in production at that time, and the cars were being delivered with it. So if they're going to talk about this fabled 1 million mile battery, which is, of course, on everybody's tongue, I'm going to say that battery is, if they do announce it, let's say in April, it's already in production in the cars. Because the last thing you want to do is announce a battery like that and have your sales tank because everybody's waiting on when should I buy? No, the trick is you can buy it today, and it's already in the cars. That's kind of my prediction. What are your thoughts?
1 million miles.
I don't know about that, but I'll tell you, on the subject of batteries, the thing that kind of blew my mind is just around the time we went to air on the last show, a guy I've been following now religiously, and if you're not, you should, is Green the Only on Twitter. At Green the Only is the hashtag, and the tech that comes out of this feed is incredible. And one of the cool things that he was able to decode in the config file for Model 3 was the possibility that there's going to be a 100 kilowatt pack on Model 3. So is this new battery technology? Because think about it. How do you like the platform is pretty maxed out. There's really no room to put more battery in this car. Yeah, physically.
This is a chemistry thing.
Exactly. So there's got to be a density improvement somewhere coming. And I'm thinking that could be tied. It could explain why that's in this config list now. Now, when we're going to get it, I don't know. Is it for real? That's the other thing, too. This is just him speculating. But if you read the feed, which was from December 20th, it's pretty compelling because all the other configs are there and they're pretty accurate, so.
It's one of those things like when they do announce it, you can put, you put all the pieces together and goes, oh, well, all the evidence was there, right?
Right.
I think part of this is also going to tie in with a Model S and X. Of course, we know that the Plaid powertrain is coming sometime later in September, later in the summer. So I think it's going to tie in all there. I don't think the Plaid powertrain is going to be motors only. I think Elon did confirm that they are going to put a bigger battery in these cars. I think personally, I'm going to put my money on the fabled interior refresh at all in the same thing. This whole thing is going to drop all at once. You're going to get the new interior, which basically consists of a new dashboard and new center console. It's not much more than that. A new battery pack, very likely with 2170 cells. New power electronics, very similar to what they've done with the Model 3, because Model 3 is very efficient that way, with the super bottle and all that stuff. So I think a lot of that tech's going to be plucked out of that car and then put into the S and X, and then boom, it just gives those cars a new lease on life and hopefully boost their sales a little bit. That's just kind of my prediction at that point. I mean, we have other stuff, of course, Eric and Raj. I mean, if you want to throw something in here too, you're more than welcome to. But I think those are probably at least the two known things that they've talked about, Investor Day and the Plaid powertrain. There's probably some other stuff too, but again, haven't hinted anything. But based on those two things, I think the orbits of everything are just kind of syncing up with one another.
And that's not like that's not like a facelift. That's like a really substantive change.
Yes.
Or substantive change. I mean, it's not like it's, they're kind of going in there and we see they make modifications all the time. The Raven refresh that happened, last year, that was not a significant change, but it was pretty noticeable by those that drove the car and saw the difference in the performance of the vehicles and yada, yada.
The range, too.
Right, the range of different. The trunk, well was a little bit smaller because of the larger motor. So there were some minor changes. We always see little things like, oh, now the front seats in the X are different. Like those are tweaks. Those are just they're skinless. They're facelifts. But if you're talking a Plaid refresh, that is an overwhelming change. That is like someone who went into surgery with a certain nose and come out and they go, darling, you look marvelous. So,
well, you have to remember, Elon has said before that he doesn't use the nomenclature of refresh, right? Mid-cycle.
What was that word you just said?
Nomenclature.
You mean nomenclature?
Nomenclature.
Nomenclature.
Tomato or tomato? Sorry.
No, it's either tomato or tomato.
Are we having a Trevor's wrong moment?
Yeah, Trevor's wrong. Okay. So he's not one to use that, but it doesn't mean that the changes that they put out in the vehicles are not insignificant.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to change the interior and you're going to do a bunch of other stuff, in my mind, it's a refresh. They may not tweak the exterior all that much. In the plaid powertrain car that's been going around the Nürburgring track, I got to get that right.
Nice.
Has different fenders on the front,
Mm-hmm.
largely for extra cooling on the larger brakes.
Front and rear.
Yes. It may also coincide with a design change on the taillights. Now, this is a rumor that's been going around for some time, and it's still stuck in my head. If you look at the Model 3, obviously, they put a larger taillight fixture where the charger is, of course, to accommodate CCS in Europe and, of course, the GP connector in China. So now's the time to re-engineer those taillights on both of the S and the X to accommodate that change as well for those markets. You have to imagine that making those cars in China with the extra flap on the side's got a painful thing for them. I can imagine that's very bothersome for them. So that was the thing that I heard, and when you put it into context like that, what they did with the Model 3, it just makes total sense. Now, I'm not saying the exterior of the car needs to change dramatically. The Model S is still a beautiful car. It's aging quite well. But if you do those things, you give the interior a little facelift type of thing, change a couple things on the outside, still looks great.
I mean, the nose cone refresh was a really big change for them.
That was more than skin deep, though.
Right. No, of course. But that was a very discernible difference from one model to the next, especially within that same model year. But since then, that's really the most significant, noticeable, like you can clearly see these two S's are not the same car. Other than that, they're minor interior refreshes. So this I'd be more inclined to believe that they're going to do a lot more for the S than they will the X, because with Model Y coming out, how much of the Model X are really going to change? If we've seen that the numbers for Model X have been dwindling at a greater rate than the Model S has over the same time period. So I think the goal is to sort of keep S as their flagship vehicle from its origins, from its roots. But I think to revamp it would be a good idea, because it's really, a lot of folks are saying it's kind of old in the tooth right now.
There's something to be said for that. I mean, the other thing I was thinking about the other day, I mean, the fact that they're pulling some of this drivetrain stuff that was originally designed for the new Roadster and putting that in production now. And if you listen to Ryan's podcast where he had Franz on it, and he said, well, the Roadster needs more time. So by doing that and improving on the Roadster, you just know that car's, they've got something else up their sleeve for this vehicle. Now, I don't know if it's just little tweaks or it's something massive, but I think it's smart on their behalf to look at it and say, okay, what can we use from this drivetrain to actually improve the vehicles and then tie everything in? And the thing is that even though that Tesla doesn't necessarily announce the big changes that they're going to do, but when they drop on them, when they drop those changes on us, it's like, oh yeah, it's almost like they had that plan, the whole time, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the big change is really going to come this summer. It's going to really revitalize the S and the X. Now, remains to be seen what they do to the current performance car, whether that stays in the stable or they do what they did with the Cybertruck. Okay, so you have the base rear-wheel drive, you have an all-wheel drive, and then you have, the big, tri-motor plaid type of thing. I think, well, unlike the Cybertruck, the Model S is still going to remain an all-wheel drive vehicle because that's the way they have it right now. But anyway, so those are just kind of thinking about what's going to happen that ways. Eric, you also had some other stuff going. I did.
I got some predictions. All right. So the first thing is with the numbers that just came out, I believe that Model Y's sales and deliveries figures, so the not production but actual, they're buying the car, they get the car delivered before a quarter ends. Sales and deliveries over its initial 6-month period, which I believe will start sometime in late spring, early June.
It's ahead of schedule.
I know. Hey, listen, we've seen crazier things have happened. But its first 6 months of sales will eclipse Model 3 figures over its initial 6-month period from some years ago. So I think Model Y will actually beat Model 3. I'm predicting in 2020 over 150,000 Model Y deliveries. That's a huge number when you consider Model 3 just had in quarter 4 about 93,000 deliveries. And that's a car that's been in full flank production for a while.
Bob,
I say
Bob,
for
I'm going to bid $1. No, I'm just kidding.
really quick story. I was watching.
I would say 80,000 cars personally.
Listen, you bite your tongue. All right, these are my predictions. Stop stepping on my toes. Get the hell out of here. Quick Price is Right story. I was watching an episode one time where a woman was so excited in Bidders Row. She was able to go $1, right? She's so excited. She couldn't. The look on her face was like, yeah, I did it. I said it. She was the third person. So the person after her goes, $2? It's great. All right. I will say that in 2020, Tesla will deliver 500,000 cars worldwide in 2020. Now that China's coming online and with Model Y coming online, that number should be a breeze to hit since we had 320,000. Yeah. And because I like having fun with numbers, version 11, the car's operating system, version 11 debuts in November, the 11th month of the year, with 11 new features and a new spinal tap Easter egg, taking it to 11.
Because it goes to 11, right?
Goes to 11. And then because there's nothing new this year, but we may finally see Trevor get really excited because now he has a passport in his hand. He knows exactly where it is. He may be in LA for a debut event where Roadster 2.0 finally makes its public view for everyone to see, touch, and maybe even test drive. Ooh.
Oh, that would be sweet.
And my guess is it'll be at Hawthorne, not Fremont.
Just maybe.
Okay. Rent out the airstrip?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you need the space.
I'm just saying. You need the SpaceX.
Do we know?
Long enough.
Well, I mean, it kind of goes back. I mean, that last prediction about the Roadster, Elon did say sometime on Twitter that they may show something about the Roadster later this year. The hover thing that they talk about, the SpaceX thing. So if it holds true, maybe. I'd be interested to see what they've actually been able to work on that car.
If anybody wants me to be their plus one, let me know. I'll go.
We'll make it happen.
I can drive my Model 3 out there.
Version 11, the software. Yeah. Who knows what extra features? Spinal Tap. Yeah, that's a good one. We'll hold you to that one. I like that. All right.
It's version 11 in the 11th month of the year with 11 new features. I mean, come on.
I wouldn't put it past Elon. I mean, look what he did with the Cybertruck,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Los Angeles, 2019.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Raj and Ian, any predictions on your ends? What do you guys want to throw into the pot here?
Go, Raj.
So, man, there's so much. There's so much. So, I love the prediction about going for a reveal for Roadster. I think that would be awesome. But I sadly don't think we're going to see Roadster getting shipped or delivered until 2021.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely a 2021 car.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's so niche and it's so beautiful, but we know that there's, bigger fish to fry. There's things that are much more important, numbers to hit. And I think to what you said, Eric, is like, why? I think Y has a lot of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why I don't know why I still, it's hard for me to understand that Y could do better than 3. I just see 3 and I'm just like, this is the best selling vehicle for them for right now. But it's hard for me to think about Y because I just think about how many people bought 3 and how many people who would have bought a Y bought a 3. Like myself, if the Y existed when the 3 existed, I would have bought the Y over the 3 just because of the space with a family, it just makes more sense. Not to say I'm not happy with the 3, but now it kind of puts me in a position of like, now do I want to go through the whole thing of selling and rebuying? And, I mean, my 3, I got a great deal on because, I got the FSD on sale, it's just, I've got the unlimited data. And so all of that stuff, added in, it's kind of like, I don't want to get rid of my 3. It's a great car.
I think we'll probably also see a pretty good used market for the Model 3 because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to trade up. right? So big an opportunity for some people to pick up one of
I
those
mean,
cars.
I think of it with respect to what Roger's saying, and I agree largely with what his points are here. But I think two things that I would add to that. One is there's a lot of current owners who are reservation holders for Model Y. So there's no reason to believe that with the number of households that have at least 2 electric cars, especially if they're both Teslas, it wouldn't be beyond the scope of reality if a lot of these owners that have a 3 say, you know what, I'm going to add a second car for that purpose of being my Model 3 is my work car, my personal commute car, but the Model Y is a family vehicle because I'm now growing. So that might be the reality. But also to Trevor's point, yeah, there may be a large number of people who are like in our position that are Model 3 owners that said, you know what, I was a great car at the time. I've gotten good use out of it. I want to actually now give someone else the experience of owning the car. They're going to get some perks with the car, like the unlimited internet and all this other stuff. But you know what, ideally the Model Y is the step up for what's natural in the progression of Tesla ownership. So I think both those things can coexist. How much of that plays out in 2020, to Raj's point, we'll have to wait and see. But I think there might be a lot of people who might still stick with their Model 3 and just add the Model Y. But we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, I think actually both of those were actually really good points. I think the second one, or the first one that you said about getting this as your second car and completing your all electric household, that's very true. If I had a 3 right now and we were due for a second car and we had the money to spend, I mean, it's like, why not? The 3 is the gateway drug, right? It was the cheaper entry-level vehicle. You know, you got in. The Y is basically just a bigger 3. You feel completely comfortable stepping into a Y if you already have a 3 as being, hey, the 3 is the commuter car and the Y is the weekend family car. I think when you put it into that context, now I can believe what you said, is that, oh, yeah, Y will do
Y is
very
going to
well.
explode this year. I mean, even though it wasn't a great big reveal, and people talked about it and stuff, but everything went real quiet. And of course, the Cybertruck's been getting all of the attention. So Model Y is a real sleeper until it really hits the roads. Then you watch; it's just going to explode.
Wait till it hits showrooms and people actually can see it, touch it, sit in it. That's going to be the game changer.
I'll tell you right now, that thing is going to be beyond anyone's wildest imagination. I mean, Elon himself said conservatively, this thing is going to sell 1.5 times Model 3 numbers. I have no trouble believing that.
And I have to say, the pre-production candidates that we've been seeing driving around look phenomenal.
Amazing.
The fit finish on them are really good. Did you see the white one? I forget who it was. Somebody was driving around, saw the white one parked there. I was looking at that, and I'm like, man, does that ever look good?
But the thing is, don't underestimate the demand there is for CUV and SUV vehicles.
It's a huge market for
That's
America.
where it's at. I mean, look at how many companies have already started phasing out sedans. The fact that the Model 3 sells so well as a sedan is a freak of nature right now in the automotive
you got
world.
the EQC, you got the e-tron. Those are both, first mover cars for both of those brands in the SUV market.
Well, even with Porsche last year with the Taycan, I mean, there was so much news about that vehicle when it came out, and there were some detractors who were trying to rip on Porsche. I'm like, no, good for Porsche. Like, they put out a really, really good EV. But now you're going to have the true competitor to that vehicle with the Model Y in terms of the overall volume.
You got Ford with the Mach-E.
Yeah.
It's the hot segment still in North America, unless buying habits change overnight, which they don't, probably not, unless we see crazy fuel prices. But
we have to, we work with the OEMs. I mean, I see their forecasts for the next 2 years. I know where this is going, and it ain't sedans. I mean, the Y is going to kill. Yeah. Unfortunately, to the detriment of the 3, it will eat into it'll cannibalize, I think, North American production of 3.
A little bit. But you know what? You think Tesla cares? It's another sale for them. They don't care which one you buy. It's just another sale for them.
And let's be clear, with China coming online and adding another 3,000 cars a week, even if they lose 1,000 or 1,500 in North America, the overall volume of 3 is going to continue to climb. And adoption rates of EVs are going to continue to climb as well. The market's just going to get bigger and bigger, and never underestimate the butts in the seats phenomenon. The more people that drive this car, the more neighbors that go for a drive in it and go, wow, I got to get me one of these.
I also think it's the price point, right? The Model 3, to Raj's point, it's that car that you can kind of get into. You can see yourself with your budget saying, I can get into that car. That's a realistic. It's not only an electric car, but it's also a Tesla I can see myself getting into. Now you have the Model Y, which is fractionally more expensive than the Model 3, not even close to what the Model S and X are at entry levels. And then you start seeing people going, well, heck, I want a CUV sort of vehicle. I can see myself getting into that car. So the price point, by and large, will be a major attraction for people who want to do that.
I know for a fact when I take people for a ride in my car, they're immediately impressed with the vehicle. But sometimes, more often than not, the next question is, well, it'd be really nice if it was a CUV.
Exactly.
Like, well, guess what?
I mean, you talked about your Model X all the time, how much you loved White Knight, just because it was such a versatile car for when you needed to do all, those off-site events, or you have this cargo,
It's
or
a
we're
great
getting
car for showing at shows.
Of
But
course.
the moment people ask about the price, they do a 180 and then walk away.
Yeah.
I always make sure there's a Model 3 beside me. So I say, by the way, this car's only $45,000.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, even if I didn't have a family and whatnot, I think I would still choose the Y over the 3. And maybe that's an American thing that we like a little bit bigger. But it just like you said, right? It's a little bit, it's more versatile. And for that fraction of a price more, it's not significantly more where you're like, I'm already stretching this much. Let me stretch a little bit more and get a vehicle that I can fit more into.
I've stipulated this in the show a number of times. To me, the Model 3 is the perfect passenger car in North America. But
yes,
and I will add this, but it would not surprise me in the least if I were to finally sit in the Model Y, because I know you guys have all been up close and personal with one, that I finally see it and go, damn, is that not the beautiful twin sister that we've been waiting for? It's like when a parent all of a sudden gets a diagnosis where you're having twins and the first one's born, you're like, oh my God, it's beautiful. And you're waiting 15, 20, 30 minutes and the next one comes out, you're like, there it is. Yeah, this car may be, Ian's right. We may be very conservative in the figures, both on Tesla's point and even our perspective. My numbers sort of make people cringe, like, that's a lot of cars. I honestly think that's how great this vehicle is going to be. This may be, we thought the Model 3 was a game changer in the market, not just for Tesla, but just in the automotive industry altogether. The Model Y is going to blow people's numbers away. It would not surprise me if the figures are great for this car if we see the stock hit 600.
In the 500s,
I'm
for sure.
telling you, it's not that crazy.
Yeah, no, because it's to your point, it's not everyone is expecting this. This is bigger than the Spanish Inquisition. No one expects.
How many people thought the Model 3 would not be what it is today?
Yeah.
They weren't sure it'd even make it to production.
Exactly. Well,
they
hang on, hold on to your hat.
It up. And remember, the car's not in full production yet, and Battery Investor Day is not here yet. So they may have some extra little things up their sleeve to make the car even better. I mean, Elon does say, whatever we show, we'll be better when the production car comes out. So,
Ludicrous mode.
Yes, we've been asking about.
Well, imagine if with that battery pack, that car long term can hit 600 miles in a recharge.
Well,
good.
Well, if you talk about the Roadster, it wouldn't surprise me to get 700 miles easily.
Yeah.
I mean, once they get the new battery tech in there. I mean, would they advertise 620 now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 700. Not out of the question, I don't think. But it's just like anything else. I mean, the cars will improve over time. Speaking of which, does anybody have any thoughts about any updates to the Model 3? I mean, anything significant or not, other than possibly a battery pack? How about a new color? How about
A new color? No. They alienated so many people reducing their color palette. They're not going to all of a sudden just go,
Okay,
we got this
when I
this
say
amazing
new color,
salmon.
I'm not saying adding a color. How about like maybe changing up the blue or that Roadster red? Oh, that Roadster red would be nice.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, here's the question.
I can think about.
Would they introduce a new interior color like S and X?
Not on the 3. Not on the 3. Keep it black, keep it white. That works great.
Well,
Roger's
keep it
reaction
black,
was
keep
great.
it white. What is maybe make the headliner black, please?
Oh yeah.
God, I'm actually gonna make.
Here's a great one. This will make Trevor so happy. No piano black. No shiny, scratched, glossy. Yeah.
I put money on that.
I could see them doing that at some point. Another thing from Green the Only's feed is apparently there's going to be a different type of tint to the glass, to the roof. There's going to be some other roof coating. There's 2 different codes apparently now that appear in the config.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So what's that going to be? I mean, is it going to be darker, lighter, a different color? Like what is it mean?
It's funny. I had one of the guys. I don't know if he was a referral or if I met him during orientation, but he messaged me. He's like, "Hey, I just picked mine up, and I woke up this morning and there was dew on my car, and I was expecting to see the rainbow, and I didn't see it. And I know you have the rainbow, so did something change?" And I was like, "Yeah, it used to be full rainbow, then it went half rainbow, and now it's no rainbow." And he's like, "Is that something that I can change after or is that at the factory?" I'm like, "No, it's whatever the UV coating that they're adding. It's something different about
They've
it."
changed the formulation, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, it just doesn't have. It still does the same thing, but it just doesn't have the rainbow. So
I had a customer ask me one time, "Can I get one without the glass?"
Oh, like a moonroof type of thing.
Well, because they remember when they were talking about the car, you would have
right.
2 roof options.
Oh, the steel roof and store.
Yeah, because he's someone that's concerned about sun exposure on his head.
No, it's not an issue. Pretty much, I mean, Tesla's pretty much married to this all glass thing now. I don't think they're going to do any more moonroofs. I mean, if you look at early Model S's, they had lots and lots and lots of problems.
Here's a question for you guys: do you see the possibility of ever having a convertible?
Yeah, it's called a Roadster.
Yes, please. I would trade mine in a heartbeat. Oh, absolutely. I dream of it every night. It's like something in this price range, this size range, but with like the roof comes down. Oh my God. Yeah. No, I'd sell the house.
Didn't somebody tear up I'm not talking about Truckla here, but didn't somebody do that to a Model 3 already?
Yes.
Or am I thinking about a Model S?
I think I've seen pictures of a Model S.
So Model S has been done. I was just thinking whether Model 3 had been done.
I'm amazed no one has, because I was at the point of wanting to wander around like some of the car dealerships here and start measuring like S5 roofs and things like that to figure out, okay, maybe about a C-Class convertible, something in that size range has got to have the right size, because obviously that would be the toughest part, right? Would be finding like an actual whole roof mechanism that would be the right size. You wouldn't want to make one from scratch. You'd lose your mind. But the rest of it's all doable. I mean, if you can make Truckla, you can make a convertible Model 3. I mean, it would, especially we know that the chassis is so over-engineered. If you watch the Monroe show where he talks about like how they built the bottom of the thing is basically an armored personnel carrier chassis. I don't think losing that upper rigidity is such a big deal as it would be on a lot of other cars.
Well, speaking of which, did you guys see that picture of I think it was in China, whatever, that SUV that kind of was in an accident on a Model 3?
Oh, yeah, on top of the Model 3.
Right,
yeah.
And the glass was intact and stuff. I mean, yeah, it was cracked.
But sitting on top of it, yeah.
Yeah, it just shows you how strong that roof is. I mean, I get people ask me all the time, what about the glass and the safety? I said, let me tell you about Tesla's glass, my friend. Yeah. So, yeah, it's not really an issue. So, well, that's pretty cool. Any other predictions before we get into questions?
Listener and viewer questions?
Yeah.
No, I just sent Trevor, though, a picture of the convertible Model 3.
Oh, you did? Okay. Oh, sweet. No, it's an accident car. You're a smart ass.
Oh, my God.
I'll put it in post. All right.
How about this? I predict that someone in this box, this foursome, and I would probably say it's the content creators, which is namely Trevor and Raj, that one of you, if not both of you, will surpass some ungodly number of Twitter followers and YouTube subscribers. And one of you may win or be nominated for an award of some kind this year for your content creation. I don't know what it is. I'm not an expert in this stuff. I don't know. But it would not surprise me with what you guys are doing if one of the two of you gets some accolade for all the hard work.
That would be really nice. I mean, 100,000 subscribers on YouTube would be totally awesome. I'm sure Raj would like that too. That'd be really cool.
Yes, I'm doing the slow climb.
Yeah, it's definitely have to work on. Actually, what you mentioned, Eric, gives me an idea, and I'm going to talk to you guys offline about something that I'm thinking about. Lab has a line of protective coatings that were engineered to protect your Tesla's paint, leather, carpet, plastic, and wheels, effectively blocking all those UV rays and environmental factors before they ever get to ruin your brand new baby. FineLab offers a complete line of car care products and ceramic coatings for both the do-it-yourselfer and professional detailers. Did we mention we also have the world's first self-healing coating? Check us out at finelab.com, that's spelled F-E-Y-N-L-A-B, to see the science behind the self-healing. Check out our product catalog and click Contact Us for a free quote from a certified installer in your area. FineLab and Tesla. We were meant for each other. All right, well, I think it's time for us to jump into questions. So I want to say thank you to everybody who submitted the questions. Once again, if you're new to the show or you wonder where we get these questions from, we publish a Google form on our Twitter account. And
your Twitter account?
My Twitter account. Well, feel free to. I mean, Raj retweeted it today to get some more eyeballs on it. So, yes, submit your questions that way, and that way we can answer them on the show. So the first one comes from Pekka. He says, will Tesla be on Mars in 10 years? Technically 9. Any thoughts?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, when we say like Tesla, like a Tesla branded thing, or we mean like we're gonna have like a moon base or something?
I mean, look, they launched a Roadster into space a couple years ago. Do they take one for Mars for a photo shoot?
Well, I mean, Elon did come out and say that there will be, like a Mars compatible version of the Cybertruck, right? Some sort of a pressurized version of it. So I got to think they've got in the back of their minds that that's going to be some sort of a basic utility or rover vehicle for them on Mars. I mean, maybe he was just joking around, but somehow I don't think he was.
I never know with him.
Well, the fact of the matter is, how hard is it? The structure is so rigid already, it's not hard to make a pressurized vehicle out of it as it would be with a traditional unit body car. Sorry, Raj, go ahead.
No, I'm always curious because I don't know much about, the SpaceX side, but like, what's the weight that they can take up there? Could that in fact, like, they take a Cybertruck up there? The Cybertruck's going to be heavy.
Yeah, I forget because originally the number that floated around was 100 to 200 people per flight, right? I think when they talked about what.
Well, when you're talking Falcon Heavy, which is what you would need to get to Mars, if you can recall the photographs they showed of the payload when they had the Roadster with Spaceman in it, you saw a huge amount of space around them.
Mm-hmm.
So that payload bay is enormous for Falcon Heavy. So it wouldn't surprise me if they can put something as large as Cybertruck in there, despite its dimensions and its weight.
Do we even know if they left a battery in the car?
My guess is they took it out for the purposes of safety for that initial test.
On the Roadster?
Yeah.
Yeah, the motors and battery were out for that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
well,
as far as I know.
For the carbon fiber shell, which is pretty light.
But we're not talking about the Falcon Heavy at this point. We're talking about Starship.
Yeah, well, Falcon Heavy. I mean, the best you could do with that is take a Dragon crew and land that on Mars. That's about the most you could do with something like that, because you need all that Delta V, to get out to trans Mars orbit type of thing. So. Starship would be the vehicle to have the cargo capacity to do.
But I remember seeing somewhere when they did the big Starship presentation that there was numbers bandied about something between 100 to 200 people per flight is what they predicted as being possible, and plus their baggage or whatever it was they were going to take with them, which was
100 tons to orbit or something like that.
Right? Yeah. I mean, if
is there an extra charge for a second carry-on?
Oh gosh,
I gotta think there will be, and it's going to be interesting to see. But I no problem. I mean, hauling a whole bunch of Cybertrucks up there if that's what you want to bring.
Hopefully,
with you.
won't try and nickel and dime us like Spirit Airlines does.
Will they serve ping on the flight?
That's going to cost you extra too. Yeah. All right, moving along here. Next question comes from Carlo, who says, does the Model 3 and all Teslas have accelerometers? If so, for those of us that forget to activate Sentry Mode, can the car start recording footage, let's say if the car backs into a parking lot? Or do the computers need to be in standby mode? Blah, blah, blah. Yes, all the cars have accelerometers on it because, well, it's two parts. One of them for triggering airbags. That's critical. Basically, all modern cars have accelerometers in for that. As far as your question is concerned for recording the footage, well, Sentry Mode is basically activated as soon as you put the car into park, unless you have it turned off, and then you have to press the button to turn it on. So, yeah.
Well, it should, right? I mean, to me, the best demonstration I've seen so far was, remember when they did the little Cookie Monster video where he's banging on the glass?
Yeah.
And it set it off. So there's definitely some sort of a shock detector. I don't know if it's independent of the car's accelerometers, because there's the ones for the stability control, which are quite sensitive. I don't know if they're repurposed for Sentry Mode as well. They could be. They
wouldn't put it past Tesla to do something like that.
Yeah, I wonder what it is, because I know when I first tested Sentry Mode, I rocked the heck out of the car and the alarm still didn't go off. It only went off when I banged on the glass. So I'm wondering if is that I don't know what's picking that up. If it's maybe just a vibration sensor.
Well, yeah. Having
not really
in car electronics and alarm.
I set mine off when I changed my wheels.
Specifically for that. Yeah, it's because it's the impact, right? It's like the shock to the wheel. I've done the same thing.
No, actually, I had the wheel on and I let the jack down nice and slow. And it hit the ground and it didn't do anything. I mean, I didn't slam it or anything like that. And it just set it off.
Well, it could have tilt as well. A lot of alarm systems over the years have tilt sensors for the same reason. Yeah. If someone tries to jack the car up to tow it away,
have all kinds of tilt sensors in them. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's various things. But no, I think in this case, like to your point, Raj, I don't know if like a vehicle bumping into it would be enough to set it off, because
I think that's always been the kind of question, is that and maybe it's gotten better over the last couple updates. I know Sentry Mode was really big right when it came out, and now I don't know how many people are testing it out. But I think either maybe it's gotten better, or B, I think Sentry mode still has, there's still some more refinements that it could, it could get, because I know some people have shown broken glass and then not gone off.
That has happened.
What if, when Sentry mode's on, the microphone inside the car is picking up certain sounds? So you shaking your car doesn't do anything, but tapping on the glass is enough that the microphone picks it up, and there it goes.
It's possible now, but I know when I did the test, we locked ourselves inside the car, set off Sentry mode, and then screamed as loud as we could, and it didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Wow, there you go. There's the definitive answer.
Yeah, I think for Sentry mode, they should add the interior camera as an
That
option,
would be
and the
best.
microphone as well. That would really take it to the next level, because then even if the glass breaks and it gets triggered and stuff, now you got interior footage to help you with catching culprits. So. All right, the next one is comes from our friend Raphael. This one's for you, Raj. He says, when is Raj going to come visit Tesla Tino? And is he going to be coming to Cars and Coffee?
I know. The only way to do that is
Road trip.
if I get my work to if my work gets me to cover Florida as a territory, then they might have to call me and be like, hey, why do you keep going out to Florida so much? I'm like, oh, there's a lot of clients out here.
Yeah. It's a cool place. It's warm. It's all good.
Yeah.
We'll have more to say about Cars and Coffee hopefully shortly. Ian and I are heading down to Florida for some R&R, some vacation time at the.
You're coming? Oh no!
Yes,
I'll when you're coming, I'll plan to leave.
Yes. And we traditionally always have Cars and Coffee organized by our good friends at Evanex, who is a wonderful sponsor of the podcast. And but anyways, we'll have more to say about that once we get everything finalized. So hopefully another week, maybe 2 weeks at the maximum, and we'll have that announcement to talk about. All right, next question comes from Steve. He says, do you think Tesla will start using the new wiring system in the Model 3? And I think what he's talking about is what they took the patent out supposedly for the Model Y. I'm going to answer this one. I'm going to say that in due time, I think that this patent, if it actually does come to fruition, because remember the patent was taken out as part of their efforts to do more automation, and it was kind of insinuated that it would be in the Model Y. So if it actually is in the Model Y, I think that it's something that will eventually show up in the cars as they get changed over time, eventually make it into the Model 3. Right now, they can't be disrupting anything on Model 3. So the answer is yes, I think it will show up in future cars and eventually a Model 3 or whatever derivative they have at that time. But no, I don't think they'll retrofit it right away. That's personal
I
opinion.
agree.
Sure.
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly right.
All right, next question comes from Greg. He says, there's been a lot of talk about people who got, after April 2019, an expected hardware 3, but actually got 2.5 instead. I know if you buy FSD, you get the free upgrade, but do you think Elon will upgrade the others who bought after this date without FSD and let people pay to have hardware 3 without the FSD option? Right now, it's the only visualization, but at some point, we'll have better autopilot on 3. No, I think, listen, the cost of upgrading the computer is included in the FSD price. As far as offering it for free, no. If they do some kind of subscription service, I know a lot of people have been asking about, instead of forking out all this money for FSD up front, would they do some kind of subscription service? I think Elon was open to the idea, but not until it's actually ready. So, no, I don't.
And also, you're not really gaining anything,
Well,
other
not
than
right
being
now.
able to see the
You want to see traffic
cones and the garbage cans.
Yeah, garbage cans. Yeah, I see cones, but it's more of a distraction in a lot of ways. But right now, it's just too early. I mean, they're just going to start hardware 3 upgrades sometime in the next month or so. So, oh, by the way, we should tell everybody once again, try not to try and bug Tesla about making an appointment looking for the hardware 3 upgrade. Let them call you. There have been some people that have gotten the upgrade under the auspices of having some service already done in their car, asking for it at the same time and say, well, listen, since you're already here, we happen to have some, let's do it for you. But just asking them for the FSD upgrade without anything else, good luck.
I think it's also VIN specific.
It is tied to the VIN. But just requesting it just by itself, and if your VIN is not coming up in the queue, don't be surprised if Tesla cancels it on you and say, we'll contact you when the time is ready. So anyways.
Also, quick prediction on 2020 with FSD. It's not coming out this year. Moving on.
Hence no robotaxi either, right, Eric?
I challenge you on that one, Eric. I think it'll come out this year.
I just don't see regulatory approval coming out this soon. If Tesla's the only name in the game, it's not going to happen. You need more than just Tesla data to do that.
I guess definition of full self-driving, right? Could they limit it? Could they write it as beta, and you still need to, hold the steering wheel and
like
do all
autopilot?
this, like autopilot?
Someone's got to be in the seat. Yeah, maybe. Maybe
sure.
maybe they release certain features to those who paid the $3,000, $4,000, infinite number of dollars out of their wallet. Sure, but in terms of like, here it is, carte blanche, go for it. Nah.
Oh yeah, no.
Limited
Yeah.
FSD. I think limited FSD is almost imminent. The fact that the hardware 3 computers can actually see more of the world, we're getting better curb detection and stuff. I mean, listen, you can't have FSD without the visual system being accurate and seeing things. I mean, Raj did a video where he's driving around and you can actually see the street lights and the colors are changing and the street lights are being detected and the road markings. All that stuff needs to be there in order to get to FSD. So the fact that they actually have it working now, even though it's in preview mode, tells me that in certain circumstances, they could turn it on in certain jurisdictions. So,
I also think when it comes to that is we look at autopilot, all the figures that kept coming out on their annual reports and accidents and all that sort of thing, is that it takes all of those cars to accumulate that much data. It may be that they're doing all these hardware upgrades for the cars that need it, aside from the Model 3s that already have it, because we know that's also been going on, is when those cars switch over from hardware 2.5 to then hardware version 3, then start collecting new data. Is it going to be like, how many cars do they have to have with that hardware in it before they then have enough data to then make another release? Because mind you, we had version 9 had some cool features, but then version 10, like I still think there's going to be you need a lot more cars and a lot more real world data before you can really say we're ready for this. Like because you're changing the hardware now doesn't mean it's ready to.
Well, that's why they're not in a rush to be changing it, because the advantages of it. There's no advantage to
pace it. You just got to pace it.
A lot of people want traffic cones, but at the end of the day, what does it do for you, right? All right.
I just want my car to be able to summon in the parking lot correctly.
Moving along. Next question comes from James. James, he says, is the Tesla radar a simple unit, i.e. just an output pulse and then a detected reflection, or is it more of a sophisticated with a phase array capabilities? Well, I don't know. I do know that our friend on Twitter, their Green the Only, has done lots and lots of work on this stuff. And going back to what Elon had said, I think it was probably a couple years ago, that Tesla has figured out a way to use the front-facing radar to spray a bit of a point cloud and use that as part of their detection. And if you look at Green the Only's videos once in a while, he does show not only the bounding boxes of what the AI sees, but actually little points and stuff that come up from what the radar sees. So as far as which is which, I couldn't tell you. I'm not a radar specialist. So thanks for the question, James, but I wish I knew more. But Green the Only is the guy to be asking this.
Yeah, exactly. We should find that out. But what still blows me away, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but I remember him talking about it a while ago, that it was able to bounce a signal under the car in front of you and detect the next car ahead.
I've seen that.
And this has happened to me a bunch of times, and I'm like, it still freaks me out how incredible it is.
How it sees 2 cars ahead of you.
Exactly. And it
well,
really...
and I've had it where my car knows that second car is the one that's suddenly braking or something's going to happen, and it alerts me, and 2 cars ahead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Boy, lots of questions here. We're going to kind of pedal through here a little bit. Let's move on here to...
Well, you got the joystick. It's all on you.
Yeah. Well, Andrew submits a question. He says, although it would be nice to have a Model Y, the Model 3 seems like a better value. What do you think? Are people overestimating the amount of Ys that Tesla will sell?
No.
Well, I think we kind of answered that. No.
You bite your tongue, Andrew. How dare you, sir?
The Model 3, I will go completely on a limb and say makes way more sense to me. You don't need the amount of space a Model Y has. I'm going to get a ton of hate on that because we're space obsessed in North America. But
it's not new. Remember in the 60s and 70s, we had things called station wagons.
That's exactly. Yeah. Don't even start me on the track. Y will kill everything.
Squire.
It's going to sell gangbusters.
The Griswold Mobile.
El Camino.
We love our space.
Let's see here. Next question comes from Scott. He says, this is a good one, actually. Can you talk about the important factor that you can generate electricity in your own country whenever you are, while you can't import gas oil? If something like this is Iranian, oh my God, here we go in political stuff. I'm sorry about this. Well, let's face it, as EV owners, you can put solar panels on your house and you can generate your own electricity. This is the only vehicles you can buy on the market that you can actually do this. You can't make oil or hydrogen in your backyard to power any other vehicle. So as far as that's concerned, yes. I mean, there are always concerns with oil because it is a commodity and it's traded on the market, and you're always at the mercy of price fluctuations and all kinds of market situations.
It's also a limited resource.
Exactly. Whereas electricity, the nice thing is the cost is the same last week as it was the month before and the month before. It never doesn't change all that much. Not that they say it can't, but yeah, there's something to be said for this. And obviously, choosing an EV does things for you on several different levels. Yeah, you got the political situation, you've got the environment, you've got fuel savings, you've got all these other things. But I think that's a personal choice, and you can't just say to everybody, you must do it, it's because this, and this. Every choice is different for everybody out there. But yeah, generating electricity, yeah. I mean, we're seeing more growth in renewables these days, and it plays well. I mean, not a day doesn't go by when we talk about, people will ask you about your electric car, and they'll bring up things like the long tailpipe situation, right? Yeah, okay. You're switching one thing for another, but the fact is, I don't think many people really understand the fact that electrical power plants, and it doesn't matter what source you use to generate electricity, is way, way more efficient than any internal combustion engine could ever be. Those things are literally the least efficient things we've ever invented. So, let's see here. Next question comes. Well, Eric, you want to take one of these questions? Why don't you read some of them?
Do I? I have to read now?
Yeah, please do.
All right, you're kind of getting tired?
Yeah.
All right. I charge sometimes at free high speed. This is from Chris. Sorry, I forgot I got to do the names first. I charge sometimes at free high speed Camacho chargers close by my home. Is there a way to precondition the battery, similar to how Tesla starts preconditioning for a supercharger when you navigate to one?
I don't believe so with Camacho. And the reason is because the handshake is different than it is with the supercharger, mainly because it's level 3. I mean, you can do this on level 2 pretty easily, but on a supercharger, you can't because that's a different, it's shunted straight into the battery. So I don't think on level 3 you can do any of that stuff.
Well, really, in our cars, I think the limiting factor is it's triggered by the computer knowing that you're on your way to a supercharger.
Navigating.
Right? Mm-hmm. It's navigating, so it's the navigation system. So it would have to recognize the Chatamo station as such, and as far as I know, they don't. So I think it's a hard no in this case.
Well, also, preconditioning isn't even done now for a destination charging station.
Nope.
So it won't even do it for that.
I'm sorry, I have to rephrase my answer because I misread the question. But yes, you guys are absolutely right. I don't think it's possible. Yeah. It's triggered specifically because of the superchargers.
Yeah.
Could you essentially navigate to a supercharger but not drive there?
Yes.
So that your car is preconditioning?
That's actually a tip that I give a lot of people.
Raj with the hack. That's not bad.
No, it's
you
I'm glad you mentioned
cheater.
it. I have told people to do that. If you're in the winter months and things are a little bit cold, even though if your destination is not a supercharger, you can get your regen back a little bit faster by picking a supercharger because it'll precondition. So that'll help keep things up. I mean, side effect is you lose a bit of energy in the process, but...
Or just drive it faster. That works.
Yeah.
Put down, man.
Ward asks, is there a way to teach my Tesla to park in my driveway?
Teach? I don't know.
Well, you can't force it.
Should never force anything.
Other than advanced summon by standing in your driveway?
I don't think so.
No.
I've had my car think that my driveway is a parking spot when I put it in reverse and it wants to do the auto park thing.
I mean, I know if you have home link, then technically you have a garage you can open and close, and that the car will do that. But I think other than that, I don't know how else you could do without home link.
Yeah. Good question, Ward. Don't really have an answer for that right now, but
we're the absolute worst.
We need to start 2020,
Oh my goodness! All right,
Answer coming soon.
Renee asks, How can you default the AC vent to the closed position? It's downright toxic getting in your car and pressing the brake when a truck's in front of you is warming up their engine.
Ooh.
So how can you not have it set? Well, I know that with the recent, there was a recent software release for the vehicles, and in there it now includes your AC controls as your profile settings. So you may just want to change your profile settings to have that as default and just manually in the car turn it back on, but not save the setting. That might be the way to go about it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Can we take a moment and give the engineers at Tesla a very big round of applause for the voice commands?
Yes.
Oh my God! How long have we waited for that?
Yeah, it is epic the bacon thing was unbelievable with the seat. I wigged when I saw that.
I want 3 bacon.
Yeah.
I was sitting in my car and I thought, we refer to this as bacon. Let's try it out. Yeah. The bacon's not a trigger word. It's the fact that you set the heat setters to.
Yeah, no, I tried it a few different ways, and it's only the way you did it that would work. I just want to go back to Renee's question again, though. Just so the AC vent to the closed position, we're talking about recirculation, right? So
Correct.
on the right hand of your screen, just so we're clear for everybody, there's a little button for recirculation. So you would have to turn that recirculation on. So recirculation has to be engaged so it doesn't pull outside air, and then you would save your driver setting like that. Maybe that'll work.
I think that when you change it, it might auto save.
It's worth trying.
I don't. Yeah. Or you could voice command it.
Yes, and the voice command is turn off face level vent.
Well, that's turning off the vent. We're talking about not wanting
recirculate. Well, yes, you can use recirculate.
Turn on recirculate.
Speaking of which, we should make a mention here, and I'll put a link in the show in the video description. We are maintaining a list on the forum of all the discovered voice commands that work. So if you're interested in finding it out, we have a list on the forum, and I'll put it in there. You guys can check it out. The guy's been collecting it. We've been putting it on a spreadsheet. So and it's only going to keep getting better.
And Trevor did a great job in his first initial take of all the voice commands.
That was a fun video.
That was good.
Yeah. Well, I want to say thanks to Raj because he called me and he says, you know what? I didn't have enough time in my friend's car to do this. Why don't you try your hand at it? And he gave me some ideas. So thank you, Raj, for the one.
I love that you're sitting in all the different back seats. Like, let me try this seat. How about this seat?
That was Raj's idea. That wasn't mine. So all credit goes to that, buddy. But that was a fun video to make. And it came together, and during the editing process, I'm like, well, I didn't even try, excited, but it's worked out really well.
Yeah.
How great would it be if Raj knew it wouldn't work? He just wanted to see if he'd be dumb enough to try it.
Well, I certainly had a lot of fun doing it. So anyway.
That is true. So La Petite. All right, I'm going to butcher this last name. Gruyere. See, I can't.
Not Gruyere.
That's her nickname. She's actually a very nice lady who used my referral code to buy her car.
Oh, well, thank you.
Oh, how about that?
Sweet.
Yeah. So her question is, this is regarding to the cap for the towing compartment. Has anyone been able to remove the cap to the towing hole, don't ask why, without breaking the cap? What's the trick or twist to successfully removing it? I broke it, yet follow the instructions to the letter.
Yeah, Raj and I have both done it. What you have to do is press in the upper left quadrant. Or is it the right quadrant?
I like how you put your finger in the air and pushed like this imaginary thing as if your podcast listeners can see what the hell you're doing.
Top right? I forget now.
I think it's top right, but I will agree with her that I also followed the instructions to the T, and I could not get that thing off.
It's difficult to get out.
I had to use... Man, I'm trying to remember what I did. I can't remember if I used a pry tool from the front or if I shoved something from back to try to pop it out. Because it just wasn't coming, and I was like... And I remember reading everything about people who had broken it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to break it.
I would make this recommendation. I would say, folks, if you're not sure how to do it, schedule a mobile service appointment with Tesla and have a tech come out to do it for you and be like,
let him break
whoa, what did you just do? Let me see that again. And then see if they can do it without actually. Yeah.
There's some lateral thinking.
The tricks of the trade. Hey, I'm not the only, Roger's not the only person here with cheat codes and stuff. This isn't Mortal Kombat. What are you talking about? All right. Next program. This question is from Jeanette. This is a referral program question. I read somewhere about a potential new referral program. So 2020. Do you have any details? I'm a new owner and interested in your thoughts on how easy it is and how to get referrals.
Well, number one rule is don't spread it on social media on Twitter because that doesn't work. Butts and seats. butts and seats. You got to get butts and seats.
Just talk about it everywhere you go. Show off your car.
Talk about it. Have it on a business card. That's what I've been doing. Have it on a business card. Everybody you talk to, you give it to them. Andy Sly will tell you Lyft and Uber are great ways to get referrals.
Yep.
Jeanette, if you have Twitter, you can put it in your Twitter bio.
Or
that's
is
a good
Tesla frowning on that, isn't they?
Or is it you? No, I'm sorry. You can tweet about it. You just can't keep it on your bio all the time. I'm sorry, I reversed that. You can tweet about it.
Enforce that though? Do they really enforce that? Because I see a lot of people still doing it.
I don't.
Earl.
I don't think
Earl,
they
look at you.
enforce it, but I think it's kind of over. It's just more of like a respecting that, hey, I'm not going to do it. The last thing you want is like you win or they come and they like, yeah, you don't qualify because we see this in your bio or something like that.
I can imagine someone going, I have 11 followers. What are you talking about?
I don't think they were really going to say anything about it right now because it's not like the prior program where it got really out of hand with all the prizes and stuff, right? Now it's it's a bit of supercharging and stuff. So I don't think it's that big of a deal if you want to put it in your profile or your handle or something like that. But I'll tell you right now, social media, not really a place. Never worked for me anyways. So butts and seats. Get your friends out there. Now, as far as our new referral program, well, the current one that's in place is still there as far as I know. I haven't checked on it lately, but I haven't seen it changed. I don't expect it to change all that much anyways because let's say they've taken away all of the previous perks now. It's basically just supercharging. So, I mean...
On the chance to win a Y or a Roadster.
That's true. Oh, by the way, we should mention that I know every time that's brought up, everybody asks, well, when are the winners going to be announced?
That is a good question.
Have they publicly
Maybe
said
they
they're
already
gonna
have.
make that public, or is that still a privacy thing?
Is this like Publishers Clearinghouse? You may have already won.
I wouldn't. You know what?
Somebody, I'll say
it's
this,
like the
if they
lottery
have
question. If I were to win the lottery, I wouldn't tell a soul.
Here's what I think they would do, and this just makes sense. Let's say they do a reveal, or not a reveal, a delivery event for the Model Y. And the initial batch of winners, they get invited. Not all expenses paid because Tesla doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Right? And then they
drive away with their car?
Yeah, exactly. Nice little perk.
It would be. They could do it Oprah style, and you win a Model Y, and you win.
You get a Model Y. You get a Model Y.
Tell them they're coming, and then just do it Oprah style.
All right, last question, Eric. What do you think?
I mean, we've beaten this to a dead horse, but why not? Let's go for it. Sam asks, I have an RWD long-range Model 3. I was supposed to have 325 miles of range from a software update months ago, and my car would get that for a couple of months. I no longer see that. Will I ever see 325? Tesla advertises 322 on the dual motor on the design studio. Okay.
I'm leaving.
I will.
Yes.
I will.
Not
I
a
will
podcast goes by when we don't get a question of some kind.
All
of
right,
variation.
Sam, let me throw this out there. So I recently got my car down to about 3% SOC, state of charge, and figured let me charge up to close to 90% to see what the number is. And I went from showing percentage on my display to showing mileage. And I can tell you it still isn't fixed, right? So the number is never going to go back. There was a software update some weeks ago, and I say some weeks ago, it was in probably late fall last year, where due to recent concerns about fire hazards, there are a few, and I really mean a few cars that had fires with the battery packs, Tesla made a software change that they spread across the entire fleet to lower the top number so that it doesn't run the risk of having some heat issue or something with your batteries and that sort of thing. So every Tesla had their top number and their mileage drop a little bit. So my car originally came with 310. It at some point had like 318, 319, and then I have not come close to that figure since then. Trevor and I will tell you, if you set your display to show percentage and not mileage, you're never going to know. You're totally fine. And if you don't drive hundreds of miles a day, you're not making a long road trip, it's not that big a deal. You won't even really notice it.
I think it's important to also remember to mention to people that this is not a battery degradation thing. So don't think that your battery's degraded. It's just a change in the Tesla algorithm that they've been playing with a little bit that changes the way the display is. And I've said it before, I'm a very big proponent of switching the car to percentage mode and treating it like a cell phone or a regular gasoline car. Most gasoline cars have a gauge that's full, half, or empty. And treat it like that. And drive your car until you hit about 20%, then start thinking about charging.
And these are EPA estimates. They always were from the very beginning. The 310 was never an actual figure that Tesla says you're going to get 310 in your car. They were just estimates. Ian will tell you, how you drive your car always affects your mileage. If you're someone who predominantly drives highway speeds, you're never hitting 310 on a long-range Model 3.
I think part of the problem, and I've said this before here, is that Tesla ships the cars by default set to miles or kilometers instead of percentage. And if they just switch the car to percentage right off the bat, I think I would cure a lot of those problems for a lot of people.
Yeah, it would. True that.
But they market the Model 3 as standard range, long range. So you have to attach some kind of number to that.
But I will say this, though. Sam, your car is not worth less because you have 8 less miles on it.
No, so I'll buy it from you. No.
And the bigger question for any of you that are seeing,
ask Mark. He'll sell his car every 5 minutes, it seems.
And if you're not getting the capacity, or the range or whatever showing up, and you're thinking, oh my God, I'm losing range. I sort of went through this bout of paranoia a few months ago, around the time Eric was talking about when they were jacking the numbers up and down in the fall. And I called up them. Oh, I didn't call it, but I contacted mobile service, and my mobile service ranger remotely diagnosed the battery. Says, bro, your battery's mint. It's like within 1% of the fleet average for your car. Says it's in excellent shape. You've got no worries. So, and sure enough, if my stats app was going up and down at the same time, and here I am in the middle of winter and it's climbing back up again. So I don't know what it does. A long explanation, like how weird the BMS system is on this car, how sophisticated it is, and if you do these little short trips, it messes it up. And he says, just drive the car and enjoy it. He says, and it's true enough.
The moral of the story is don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Let the Tesla engineers have spent a lot of time, many years on this. They know what they're doing. They're experts. Don't worry about it too much. But again, set it to percentage and forget about it.
Yes.
All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. Raj, since you're our guest of honor tonight, what would you like to plug? Obviously, your YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to Tesla Raj.
Yeah, just Tesla Raj on YouTube, Tesla_Raj on Twitter. Twitter for the short, quick updates, and YouTube for informative, entertaining videos, I guess. Yeah.
Yes, and delivery specialist extraordinaire.
Yes. Oh, that's actually, I'd probably promote that as more. If anyone's looking at buying a Tesla, and has any questions about the vehicle, or you just picked up your vehicle, I get emails all the time, and this is actually what I love doing is just raj@teslaraj.com. Shoot me an email. I do respond back. I, in fact, ran into somebody who bought a vehicle because he reached out to me, and he was talking about Model X, and he's like, I asked you 3 questions, and you wrote an essay back. And he's like, and I met him at an event, and he's like, this car I bought because of you. And so that was like awesome. Really rewarding. And that's probably the
So just a reminder for if you're watching or you're listening, that Raj is in the Bay Area. So just remember that, he can travel within a certain distance, but, you can come down to LA. I don't know. We'll see.
Yes. Trying to do that, Trevor.
Yes. I appreciate that. All right. Ian, how about you? What would you like to plug?
Well, the usual suspects. If you are looking to contact me in any way, shape, or form with any sort of a technical questions, there's 2 ways you can do that. One of them is via Twitter. The handle is @Ian Pavelko. You can also do so at the Tesla Owners Online Forum, where the handle is Mad Hungarian. So you can send me a public or private message in either of those vendors. I'll be happy to help you out on that.
Best place in the world.
Yeah, and if you're looking for some fine Tesla Evolve wear, there's always my Teespring shop, Mad Hungarian, at teespring.com, where you can pick up your new Model Y shirt and soon-to-be Cybertruck shirt. Now, I will, in case anyone who's watching notices the fact that I'm wearing a Cybertruck shirt, I wish dearly that this had been my idea. I thought it was brilliant, but this is a Christmas gift I got from my beloved from Blipshift, which is one of the world's coolest automotive T-shirt sites, and it was only limited edition, so sadly, it's already expired.
What does your shirt say so that people know what it says?
Yes, if you can't see it, it's the Cybertruck in profile with a little bit of smashed glass and an array of light going through it, which is broken to the prism spectrum, which is exactly done with the right font and everything as the Dark Side of the Moon Pink Floyd album, and it says the Shard Side of the Moon. I love it. When I saw this, it was like, that is so amazing.
That's an awesome shirt.
Yeah, hats off to her.
Well, as usual, links to Ian's stuff will be in the podcast description, so you guys can check it out. And Eric, how can
all right, so 2 things. The first is I want to kind of plug this. One of our sponsors of the show is Evanex. There's an awesome code for our listeners. If you want to save $5 on any order at evanex.com, you can enter the code HIGH5 at checkout. That's HIGH and the number 5 at checkout for any order $50 or greater. You can knock off $5, which is awesome. That might even help save on some shipping costs. But rather than plug myself, I want to say that I've read during the winter break we were on for a couple of weeks. I went ahead and went to the iTunes reviews. I know Trev had a link about this and it's like, thank you to everybody. I'm like, let me actually go read these things. I haven't read them since we've been doing the show. And for all the feedback we get, positive, negative, criticism, critiques, whatever, we appreciate it. Rating our show, what seems like the average of 4.5 stars out of 5 is amazing. So thank you for that. But even if you gave us 1 star because you hate my rants or because you didn't like Ian's plugging of his shirts or you don't like the sound of Michael's voice, whatever it is, thank you for listening to our show. And if you continue to listen, great. If you don't, we'd love to have you back. We're gonna do some great things this year. But I also want to take the chance to say that the 3 gentlemen that I'm with on the show and all of the guests we had last year make the show as great as it is. I am a smart person by nature, but these 3 men are intelligent beyond measure. They make me sound smarter than I actually am. I'm kind of an actual buffoon, really. But if there's any questions you have about these cars, these 3 guys know so much. Ian knows more about wheels than I think the inventor of a wheel, which is amazing. Trevor knows so much about cars and all kinds of stuff. And Raj is just, if you want to know what a great teacher looks like, believe me, you don't actually see it until you see them do their work. And Raj's work is just the work of miracles. So give these guys a follow, all the social media stuff, all of the things you can. Don't stalk them in real life because that's illegal. But seriously, these guys are amazing. And you know what? I think I want to say happy new model year since we have a Model Y coming out. So there you go, everybody. Enjoy the show.
Nice.
Excellent. Well, I guess that leaves me. I want to say thank you to everybody tonight, of course, for joining in, and all of you listeners and watchers out there. We publish this both on our RSS feed, so you can get it in your podcast player. We also publish it on our YouTube channel. That's Tesla Owners Online. You can look for that. And we have some 66 other episodes and stuff you can go back and listen to. And if you want to follow me, I'm very active on Twitter. The handle's Model 3 Owners, the @ symbol, or you can just search for Tesla Owners Online. That's me. And check out our forum at teslaownersonline.com, the best place for discussing all Tesla stuff. It's a very friendly forum. It's really well organized. We have some awesome sponsors on there. Speaking of which, I want to say a big thank you to the guys at Duliban Insurance, Fine Lab Ceramic Coatings, and the guys at Evanex for sponsoring our show. We really appreciate all of that. And as Eric said, if you like the show, hey, head on over to iTunes and give us a thumbs up or tell us what you think, whatever. Every little bit helps. And with that, we will let you go, and we will talk to you again next week with hopefully some even more exciting Tesla news. Thanks for watching, guys. See you later.
Bonne année tout le monde.
What he said.